If one of the biggest home builders in America just erased nearly a decade of price growth, watched its stock price cut in half, and sacrificed a staggering 77% of its net profits, what does it tell us about the housing market that nobody else is saying? Go to any mainstream financial news site out there right now and you'll hear the same old talking points. The market is frozen, the rates are high, homeowners are locked in 3% mortgages. It's static, boring story about a standoff where nobody is moving. But behind the scenes, a multi-billion-dollar giant just blinked. And I don't think this story is actually about Lennar Homes at all. I think it's about corporate confusion about your neighborhood, your budget, and the exact price floor of American homes. So who is Lennar? And why are we treating their Q2 2026 earnings report like a smoking gun? In the housing world, economists give you lagging data, Zillow gives you wishful thinking, and CNBC gives you talking heads. If you want to know what is actually happening on the ground right now, you look at the mega builders. They don't build boutique luxury estates. Lennar Homes is one of the absolute largest home builders in the United States. They target the heart of the mass market. They are the ultimate retail housing bellwethers. For the last 2 years, Wall Street treated Lennar like they were bulletproof. The narrative was that because regular homeowners refused to sell their houses, Lennar had a virtual monopoly on supply. They were supposed to out-engineer the Federal Reserve. But their latest numbers just completely shattered that illusion. Let's look at the first piece of evidence in this case, the complete destruction of Lennar's profitability. Back in the frenzy of 2022, Lennar was sitting on a mountain of cash with spectacular 29.5 gross margins. They were making money hand over fist. Fast forward to their fresh Q2 2026 report, and that gross margin has plummeted by 15.6%. Because of that, their net income didn't just take a hit, it catered by 36% year over year, representing a massive 77% plunge from its peak. Wall Street panic wiped out nearly 50% of Lennar's stock value from its high. Now, why would a massive, highly successful corporation willingly destroy its own margins and torch its own stock price? They didn't do it by accident. They did it because they were burning money on incentives. Now spending is on average about 12.9% of the home's cost on things like permanent mortgage rates, buy downs, just to get buyers to sign on the dotted line. They are weaponizing their capital buy down macro risk. But that forces the next question. If they're spending billions of dollars on subsidizing interest rates for buyers, why are they losing control of the narrative? Let us look at Exhibit B. The incentives weren't enough. To move houses, Lennar had to pull the only lever that ultimately matters. They chopped the price. According to their own report, the average sale price of a Lennar home dropped another 4.6% year over year, landing at $371,000. That means the average price of a brand new home is down to a massive 24.4% from the 2022 peak. Lennar has officially erased nearly a decade of housing inflation, dragging their average price all the way back to 2017 levels. Think about that. In a world where everything from groceries to car insurance is 30% more expensive than it was just a few years ago, a mega home builder just dragged housing back 9 years. So if prices are back to a 2017 levels, and Lennar is throwing double-digit financial incentives at people, why aren't buyers flocking back into the market and driving revenues through the roof? To answer that, we have to look at how Lennar actually builds. They didn't get lazy. Operationally, their team executed a flawless playbook. They turned home building into a hyper-efficient assembly line. Look at these operational stats from the report. They whittled construction costs down 13% over the last few years. They squeezed their building cycle time down to a record low of 121 days to avoid holding land. They aggressively cleared inventory, dropping down to just 2.1 homes standing per community. They did everything right. They cut construction waste, sped up the crews, trimmed the fat, and yet despite building faster and cheaper than almost anyone else in human history, their profits still collapsed by 77%. How is that mathematically possible? Because no matter how much money Lennar saved on 2x4s and concrete, it didn't outrun the ultimate reality of the American consumer paycheck. Here's what I think actually happened, or is happening. This earnings report isn't a housing report. It's a corporate confession. Lennar's executive team looked at the data, looked at today's interest rates, and realized something profound that the rest of the real estate industry is still trying to deny. Waiting is not a strategy anymore. The narrative for the last 2 years was that buyers disappeared because of high rates, but they didn't disappear. Budgets did. Lennar realized that buyers literally cannot stretch their income any further. The consumer is tapped out. So instead of sitting on vacant land and hoping the Fed saves them, Lennar decided to completely surrender their premium corporate identity. They accepted that they are no longer a high-margin growth stock. They chose to become a low-margin, hyper-efficient volume utility. They liquidated their profits because selling a house for less beats owning a house nobody can afford. Now let's bring that right back home to your local market and my local market. Every single week on this channel, we look at the local MLS data, and what do we see? We see unique overpriced homes sitting on the market, accumulating days on the market, and racking up price cuts. The homes that actually fit into the normal local monthly paycheck get snapped up instantly. The ones that don't become permanent fixtures in inventory. I've been telling you that the market isn't dead. It's just aggressively sorting by affordability. Apparently, the smartest economist at a multi-billion-dollar national builder looked at the exact same math and came to the exact same conclusion. You're welcome. Only, instead of just making a video about it, they spent billions of corporate dollars proving it. They proved that the retail housing market cannot function at an inflated peak price under current macroeconomic realities. The local trend we are watching in real time is a microcosm of the exact corporate pain Lennar just confessed to having. Which brings us to the ultimate implication of this investigation. If Lennar, with a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet, its own private mortgage bank, and 13% construction cost advantage, and an army of elite economists could not outrun affordability, what happens to the local independent builder? What happens to the regular family down the street trying to sell their own home? The average mom and pop seller doesn't have an in-house bank to buy a buyer's interest rate down to 5.5%. They don't have a 29% mortgage cushion to comfortably absorb a 24% price drop back to 2017 levels. The biggest builder in America didn't beat the housing market. They capitulated to it. They adapted because they had to. Yet the average retail seller out there still thinks they can negotiate with reality. They are still holding on to 2022 prices, completely blind to the fact that the giants of the industry have already reset the floor right underneath their feet. And in a market shifting this fast, pretending you can negotiate with reality is a very dangerous place to be. I'm out.